It's called Getting Buggy with Dana. And this segment, this part of the show here is just me and you guys. We got a little bit.
Hey, Dana, is that you?
What?
The guy who gets all buggy about the flies?
Yeah, that's me, Sketchy. What's going on?
Nothing much. Just trying to catch a monster trout with this. You know, my hands, the very sophisticated fishing style that I use.
Your hands.
Anyways, I heard that you're talking about the Parmacheene Belle today. What the heck is that?
Anyway, we are. You can read.
Sounds like a fancy dessert to me.
Not quite, Sketch. The Parmacheene Belle is a classic wet fly with a lot of history, designed to mimic the pectoral fins of a brook trout and your dumb fly rod.
This isn't a fishing rod. No, it's just my hands. But wait,
I see
you're
it. But
telling me that fish eat flies that look like other fish?
Is it your first
time
time here,
or underwater world is this?
Yeah, it's a wild world, Sketchy, but trust me, this fly's been around for over a century and has helped many anglers catch countless brook trout.
Oh, absolutely. But make a snappy date. I've
Okay,
got a date with a trout who owes me rent.
All right, Sketchy, but sounds good, buddy. And so let's get buggy about the Parmacheene Belle. And I don't know who that guy is, but apparently he's a little bit of a rowdy dude who thinks he knows a lot, but the Parmacheene Belle. All right. Oh, it went too fast right by there, so we didn't. There we go. I can pause there. It's a classic wet fly that traces its origins back to the late 19th century and created by Henry P. Wells, an influential angler and writer who is credited with naming and popularizing this pattern. The fly was first documented in Wells's book Fly, Rods, and Tackle back in 1885. 1885. He described this as an attractor pattern rather than a specific imitation of a natural insect or baitfish. The fly was originally designed for brook trout fishing in the rivers and the lakes of Maine, particularly around the Parmacheene Lake region, hence its name. It was meant to mimic the fins of juvenile brook trout, which often displayed vivid red, white, and black markings. This made it highly effective as a predatory trigger for large trout. How many of you in here knew that? Because I didn't know that before I started learning about it and the history, and I just went right past that slide. The Parmacheene Belle is a foundational fly in the history of American fly fishing, often appearing in classical literature and fly pattern books. It's one of the most recognized attractor wet flies, and it's still referenced in discussion about traditional fishing methods. Famous fly tyers such as Mary Orvis Marbury featured the fly in her 1892 book, Favorite Flies and Their Histories, further cementing its status as a must-have fly in traditional collections. It was widely used across northeastern U.S. and Canada, particularly for catching brook trout in deep pools and moving waters. Today, the Parmacheene Belle is often displayed in vintage fly collections, and you're going to see why after Tim ties it, and it's framed for fly fishing artwork, and it's often used as a symbol of traditional fly fishing craftsmanship. So we're absolutely tying up a legendary fly today, folks. So as we discussed earlier, the entomology isn't really buggy, but yet it's the red and white wing coloration is said to mimic the pectoral fins of the brook trout or other juvenile fish, making it that territorial trigger for predatory fish. The soft hackle and the movement suggest the fluttering of an emergent insect, maybe, if you're going to stretch it a bit, which could resemble caddis, drowned terrestrials, just like all the other swinging flies. Sometimes you just don't know, and we say they mimic this, and they are what they are. But the contrast of the bright colors makes it highly visible in deeper or slightly stained water, which if you've ever fished out on the East Coast, a lot of those rivers are tan, like tea stained. It's just the natural color of them. So a bright fly like this might have been the ticket to success on places and waters that are always kind of that rust tea stained. So you're going to ask yourself, how do you fish the fly? Well, just like any other great swinging fly or streamer, you're just going to you can swing it down. You can do your leisurely lift, okay? Or you could just fish it to the banks and pull it off and strip it back and forth like that. Or if you want, just put it under a giant bobber and let it flow down the river and do your thing. Or if you got your little kickers on and you're in a lake, well, you're just going to troll that thing around on a sinking line and have some fun with that. The Parmacheene Belle in modern fly tying history. Well, it's just like I said. Some people Euro nymph it because that's just what they do. So nowadays, the colors have been experimented with and played around just like everything in modern fly fishing culture. It's just kind of the way it is. So I guess I would say it's a bit of a streamer pattern or a swinging streamer pattern. And the colors are why, because you just heard me talk about the Brook Trout. And the pro tips of this fly is to remember that it's a fly that represents both history and effectiveness. So it's kind of that classic. When we say the word classic, it's exactly that. It's a fly that's been tied for, I didn't do the math, but over 130 years. A long time. And it's kind of withstood the test of time. And what this fly does do for us, which I do want to talk about, and I did not put into my slides here. I don't know how geeky to get about this, but the process of marrying the feathers together. So what we're going to be doing here is to marry some feathers together. And what that means is basically we're going to take different colors. Okay, so when you open up your package and you see your feathers, they're going to kind of be stuck, and Tim's going to go down and he's going to kind of pull them apart. And so what we want to do let's just say they were married to start. And so we're kind of pulling them apart. And then what we want to do is introduce a couple color combinations to similar feathers, but different colors. And so that's where we got to like re-Velcro them and remarry them back together. Interesting enough that this is kind of the biology of this is that it is on the wings of birds and it helps them with their, the aerodynamics. It helps them with waterproofing. The fact that these feathers, they stay together, it's just really cool because what we're doing is we're kind of taking apart the natural and then we're going to put back the natural. So why does it work like that? If you take one of these feathers and you put them under a microscope, you're going to find this like central shaft here, and then it has these barbules. Okay, but what's really cool about that is that you can't marry different sides because the barbules are facing different directions. So what Tim will show you is how we're going to have the same side and the same side. It's super important because of how the microscopic structure of those feathers are. They will not marry to the feather of the other side. We can dork out about this, but I think just to see that whole idea and like the marrying as Velcro is kind of how I want you guys to think about this. As we jump into tying this fly, you got history, you got it's just fascinating on the history of it and how this fly goes together. And then you can get into the artistic world of fly tying, which goes much beyond what I want to do. I want to fish and catch fish with them. But anyways, that's Getting Buggy with Dana, and that's all about kind of the Parmacheene Belle and a little bit about the microscopic biology of marrying or Velcroing those wings together based on the sides, the barbules, and I just made Tim's job a whole lot easier.